Hey everyone, before we jump in, today's video is sponsored by Skillsare. I'm sure most of you have already heard of Skillsare before with their classes on video editing, graphic design, and illustration, but they also have hundreds of career-focused classes as well, from culinary arts to coding, or even how to run a successful YouTube channel. For me personally, I quickly noticed and jumped into their philosophy, video editing, and Photoshop courses. Things you guys all know by now that I love and infuse into every one of my videos. Skillshare is a great place to explore the basics of philosophy or psychology to get you started on a new journey or to help you broaden your horizons. Now, whether it's learning to edit or learning a new language so you can watch those anime without subtitles, entering into new discoveries can be intimidating. But with Skillshare, you can start small and learn to be more productive or even just to be organized better, like with this course on productivity and time management, where you can learn to form good habits, use the tools at your disposal to boost productivity, or even manage your attention to help stay focused on your new projects, which is something I definitely need. Whatever the case may be, Skillshare makes it easy to discover new career and learning opportunities, and the first 1,000 people that use my link below can get started completely free for the first month. So click the link and join Skillshare to start discovering new courses and opportunities free with my link. Thanks for watching and enjoy the video. During the start of the Battle of Gods arc, Videl is forced to involve herself as the 5th member in a 6 Saiyan ritual. Though it was Pan, the half-Saiyan baby she was carrying, that ultimately served as the final catalyst for the ritual, this scene got me thinking. As her hair turns gold and the power of the Super Saiyan envelops her, I wonder, what if Videl could go Super Saiyan? How strong would she be? Who could she stack up to? And what if this actually is possible? On its face, you might assume that a human like Videl going Super Saiyan is, obviously, not possible. Despite her hair turning golden during the ritual, she isn't actually a Super Saiyan, and it's just Pan passing her power through her mother's body. But here's where things get interesting. A process called maternal fetal cellular trafficking is the sharing of cells between a mother and her fetus during pregnancy, and happens during all pregnancies. During this exchange, the cells of the fetus are transferred into the mother via the blood. This leads to a phenomenon called microchimerism, or fetal-maternal microchimerism to be exact. This phenomenon is noted by the presence of foreign cells in the mother's body from their fetus, and not only can they last for decades, but they also, as cells are known to do, multiply. Back to the world of Dragon Ball, and I'm sure you know where this is going, S cells are the cells that Saiyans contain that allow them to turn into Super Saiyans. The more peaceful the carrier, the more S cells they generate, and the more S cells they generate, the easier it is to transform. It's almost assured that Pan would have passed these S cells to Videl during the course of the pregnancy, and due to Videl's very peaceful nature, even compared to the half-Saiyans, they multiplied and she could turn Super Saiyan with the ease of someone like Goten or Caulifla. So it's due in part to the less battle-hungry nature of humans that makes hybrid Saiyans so powerful. Now imagine how powerful a full human with the ability to go Super Saiyan could possibly be. And we know from Universe 6 how easy it is to go Super Saiyan after you've already achieved it once. Now, are we gonna see this Super Saiyan Videl again in Dragon Ball? No, probably not. But based on what we know about Saiyans so far, it seems to be at the very least possible that given a bit of training, she could go Super Saiyan at will and is the only human capable of doing so. Unlike Bulma and Chi-Chi, who also carried Saiyan children, neither of them have the advantage of having gone Super Saiyan before, so they wouldn't be able to tap into that power as easily. So now that we know that Super Saiyan Videl is, at least in theory, actually possible, let's see how strong she would be with that 50 times multiplier. But first, we have to find out how strong Videl is in base, and since we don't have an exact power level for her listed anywhere, we have to compare her to similar characters to figure it out. Since Videl is a human without any considerable key training, she's probably not going to have a power level in the thousands or above. In fact, I believe her power level lies somewhere between 5 and 10. 5 being the only real power level we have listed for a normal human, the farmer with the shotgun at the start of Z.
Your power level is puny. Level 5.
And 10 being Goku's power at the start of the original Dragon Ball. The main statement we have about Videl's strength is from Gohan that she is stronger than Mr. Satan.
Yeah, no wonder. He doesn't want Videl to know she's stronger than he is.
Mr. Satan is clearly way stronger than a middle-aged farmer, but he probably lands at around a power level of 7 or 8. During the course of Z, the most impressive thing we see Mr. Satan do is break through 14 ceramic tiles, injuring his hand in the process. On the other side, in episode 2 of Dragon Ball, Goku lifts a large boulder and crushes it with his bare hands, and though he did struggle a little bit, he shatters it completely and then runs off to do another. On the durability side of things, we see Mr. Satan get knocked around into walls a few times during the series, once by Cell into the mountain and once by Trunks during the World Martial Arts Tournament. On both of these occasions, Mr. Satan ends up pretty badly injured and incapable of fighting anymore for quite a while. During episode 5 of Dragon Ball, Goku gets knocked straight through a number of stone pillars, and ended up completely unscathed. The only reason it had any effect on him at all was because he was hungry. On top of this, in the very first episode of Dragon Ball, Goku takes shots from Bulma's gun, and though they hurt him a bit, they don't damage him in any significant way. By the time we reach the Buu saga, Mr. Satan gets shot trying to protect Buu, and it goes straight through him and almost kills him. So it seems safe to say that in terms of both strength and durability, Mr. Satan doesn't hold a candle to Goku from the start of Dragon Ball at a power level of 10. However, before we move on, I want to take a second to dispel a myth that I've seen regarding Saiyans and how their durability might differ from humans. The idea that Saiyans have more durable skin and higher bone density than humans is one that I've seen tossed around a lot, but from my researching, I haven't been able to find anything directly saying that innate Saiyan biology is any different from humans in these areas. Though Saiyans are able to grow in power level faster than humans and have an innate ability to learn fighting techniques better than most races, their actual biology doesn't seem much different in terms of things like skin toughness and bone density. So a Saiyan with a power level of 10 should have just about the same stats as a human with a power level of 10. But you may be wondering why you've heard this so much before, or why Goku was able to survive such a large fall onto his head when he was only a baby. And while it's not true that Earth Saiyans have any innate differences in these areas, it is true on average they would be tougher. On the Saiyans' homeworld planet Vegeta, the gravity is 10 times the gravity here on Earth. In an environment like that, your bones would need to be stronger to withstand the increased forces on them. However, in tests that we've done here on Earth and in space, we've found that when exposed to lower gravity for extended periods, both your skin and bones will atrophy, lowering your bone density and actually making your skin weaker and literally thinner. So it seems like naturally, due to their homeworld having higher gravity, Saiyans have stronger and thicker bones and skin. But given that Goku has been on Earth for quite a while, by the time he meets Bulma, his physiology has come in line with what we'd expect for normal humans. So that means if Mr. Satan was at a power level of 10 or above, we should expect to see similar feats from him that we've seen from Kid Goku, but we don't see anything close. Another example would be Krillin, who's neck and neck with Goku during early Dragon Ball, and can tank bullets and such in the same way that Goku does. Back to the Buu saga, we see some more confirmation on top of Gohan's statements that Videl is stronger than Mr. Satan. Both of them happen to kick opponents in the face with all their might, Mr. Satan against a normal human who survived it,
just get out of my sight!
And Videl up against a superhuman Spopovich, managing to snap his neck, though he lived because of his Majin power-up. Videl also manages to take down, in 2 hits, a man who at the very least considered himself stronger than Mr. Satan. Someone whose power even Gohan could sense standing out amongst the rest of the humans in the area.
Whoever this guy is, he's a lot stronger than the thugs we faced the other day.
This leads me to believe that during the events of Z, Videl sits above her father around a power level of 8 or 9. I lean toward 9, but still below Goku at 10, as we don't really see anything from her that would lead to her outclassing him in any way. She runs away from bullets, leading me to believe that she isn't immune, or at the very least they'd heavily damage her. She's afraid when falling off the cliff in the bus, seemingly resigning herself to death in a way before Gohan saved her, leading me to believe that she probably couldn't survive it. And she even appears afraid of this medium-sized water tower falling on her. Despite her brief training in ki control from Gohan, there's a big difference between passively using ki to fly and actively using it to increase durability and strength while fighting. So it's unlikely that the short ki training she got from Gohan really significantly increased her fighting power in any way, but we'll touch more on that in a moment. At a power level of 9, Super Saiyan's 50 times multiplier would take Videl all the way up to 450, only 34 points above Goku without his training weights at 416. Like Goku, Videl is a well-trained martial artist, and though perhaps not quite the prodigy that Goku was as a kid, in Super she even runs her own dojo and teaches tournament-level competitors. Where she falters is her lack of ki control, which will be the crux for her in many of her matchups here. Even without beams and other energy attacks, a good base in ki control is essential for things like strikes, blocks, and flight. Despite learning the basics of flight during the Buu saga, Videl hasn't shown any more mastery of ki for combat purposes. Even if we grant her the ability to fully utilize her Super Saiyan power, which we'll do for the rest of this video, she'd still be trounced by Goku using any sort of energy attack, let alone a full Kamehameha with a power level over 900. And if Raditz at 1500 was too slow to run from Goku's beam, then certainly Videl would be also, Super Saiyan or not. With a power level of 408, a much better base of ki control, and a laundry list of alien abilities like gigantification and regeneration, Videl would most likely meet a similar fate against Piccolo. With Dragon Ball's renewed focus on the spiritual, we've seen a lot recently just how important energy control and spiritual training can be for your fighting ability. Without any training at all in these areas in terms of combat, Videl just can't hold a candle to anyone near her power level with proper experience. So while aliens like Goku and Piccolo at the start of Z seem out of reach for Videl, how about the other humans? Well, according to guides, she probably has a pretty good chance.
My father's a busy man. If you want to challenge him, you're gonna have to get through me first.
In terms of human fighters, before their training for Vegeta and Nappa, we have Roshi at the lowest power level of 139 and Tien at the highest of 250, with Krillin and Yamcha in the middle at 206 and 177 respectively. Now Videl is sporting a power level of over double most of her opponents, and though as we all know, power levels are not linear, this is a sizable gap in strength. As I said earlier, giving to Videl that she can wield the Super Saiyan power to its fullest, she should make quick work of Roshi and Yamcha even with their beam attacks. An over triple power level gap against Roshi should mean that Videl can tank his moon level Kamehameha, and a barely stronger Yamcha shouldn't put up much more of a fight either. Think of Yamcha versus the Cybermen after his training. He only had a power level gap of about 300, from 1200 to 1480, and he still managed to take out a Cyberman with relative ease. Well, until... This is all on top of the fact that Videl would have a massive mobility advantage, given she can fly and they cannot. Roshi never learns to fly, and Yamcha only learns during his training with Kami for the Saiyan's arrival. When it comes to Tien and Krillin though, I believe the fights to be much closer. Beam attacks generally increase your power level around 2 to 3 times, which would put them both neck and neck with Videl. Not to mention that Tien and Krillin both have energy attacks that far exceed their own destructive power, the Tri-Beam and Destructo Disc respectively, that would likely cause a lot of trouble for Videl. A powerful Tri-Beam could knock her out almost completely or deal significant damage, and one clean hit from a Destructo Disc means almost certain death.
Nappa! Don't touch it! Huh?
Besides these destructive abilities, these two also sport an arsenal of non-damaging techniques like the solar flare, the afterimage, and Tien's extra arms that could make it hard for Videl to keep up with her normal melee combat. According to the power levels released along with the Tree of Might movie, which, to be clear, seem incredibly inaccurate for the most part, but is the only instance of a power level we have for Tambourine, putting him at 340. If this is true, then when Tambourine manhandled Krillin after the 22nd Tenkaichi Budokai, he would have done so with a power level gap less than that of Krillin at the start of Z and our Super Saiyan Videl. To me, this shows that Videl should have no problem taking out Krillin and moving on to Tien. Despite still having an advantage when it comes to moveset and his key training background, I feel that the power gap is just too large for Krillin to overcome. Think of the Tournament of Power where we know Jiren had far better mastery over his energy control than our heroes, but they still managed to overcome him with powerful transformations like UI. Or someone like Broly who clearly has very little control, but so much raw power that he managed to come out on top over Goku and Vegeta separately. Finally, in this fight against Tien, Videl would certainly overpower him as well, as she's definitely stronger, like I mentioned, but would still struggle with all the alternative techniques, and due to the smaller power gap along with the unique way that the Tri-Beam draws forth power beyond its user's limits, as you can learn more about here in this video, she would likely fall to a solar flare followed by a well-charged Tri-Beam.
Tri-Beam!
So, Super Saiyan Videl, though much stronger in terms of raw power, lacks the proper training and techniques to keep up with the Z fighters, and only sits around the combat ability of Tien from the start of Z. With all these matchups done, even though it's my video, I can't help but feel like it's cheating a little bit, since Videl wouldn't achieve this Super Saiyan ability until after Battle of Gods. So pitting her up against the humans way back in the Saiyan saga, before Super Saiyan had even been created, is a bit unfair. But as I said earlier, we know that at least to some extent, Videl has been keeping up with her martial arts training, and knowing Videl, I'm sure she'd want to learn more about ki control along the way. So let's say that Gohan had continued to teach her the basics of ki up until around the ROF arc, and now he's too busy with his research. So no Super Saiyan 2 and beyond just yet. With basic control over strikes, blocks, and some rudimentary ki blasts and beams, where would she stack up? Well, firstly, she would certainly be stronger than Yamcha, but I'd put her somewhere around Krillin's power level, who's generally considered to be the strongest human in Dragon Ball. Krillin's training, if you can call it that, has been more akin to what Videl would be doing. Krillin fights against normal humans as a police officer, and Videl would do the same at her dojo, just without the guns. Given that Videl would also be training with Gohan, she'd have a leg up now, but lacks the intensive and in-depth training that Krillin got with Master Roshi during the original series, and with Kami and Popo during the Saiyan saga. To me, this places them pretty equal in terms of power. I can't see any reason that Videl wouldn't be able to match him. So the battle would become the strength of Videl's new 50 times Super Saiyan boost versus the tactics and training of Krillin. During the prep for the Tournament of Power, Krillin shows his intelligence when it comes to fighting against both Goku and Gohan. Though he managed to beat Gohan in his recruitment challenge, it was only about knocking Gohan off a small rock. The idea that Krillin could significantly damage Gohan in any way, even in base, is still a bit far-fetched to me. Given this, I don't think Krillin's tactics alone would be enough to overcome the Super Saiyan multiplier either, and Videl would probably trash him with some basic energy attacks.
Your father doesn't have time to play right now. He can't do much of anything because he got hurt by some teeny-weeny bank robbers.
With all this info, it makes me wonder if Universe 7 wouldn't have had a bit more luck in the Tournament of Power had they sent Videl into the time chamber with Gohan for a couple days instead of bringing along Krillin. 18 would still get her synergy with 17, and instead of the 18 Krillin duo, they get Gohan and Videl instead. Plus, due to her good-hearted nature, which would result in the overabundance of S cells, it would probably be pretty easy for her to jump up to Super Saiyan 2, 3, and beyond. When it comes to where exactly Super Saiyan Videl stacks up, without training, say right after the ritual in Battle of Gods, I'd put her slightly above the humans before their training with Kami and Mr. Popo during the Saiyan saga. And with training through Super, she'd sit considerably above the humans, but still below the rest of the cast, unless she manages to break through into Super Saiyan 2, God, and beyond, or maybe even her own version of Ultimate. In which case, with proper training, she may be able to rival even the mid-levels of the cast like the androids. But with all that said, this is of course just my opinion and total speculation and theory. It's tough to scale without many feats and no actual numbers listed, but it's something that, despite being possible on paper, will more than likely never happen. So where do you think a Super Saiyan Videl would stack up pre and post training, and do you think she'd be worth training up for the next Tournament of Power? Either way, I doubt we'll see anything like this again, but it's always fun to speculate.